There we go. It's all good now. My name's Infernos, joined here by my good friend here, Jank. Welcome back to Clutch X VESL. And we've got two teams starting off for this first game of the day, and a total set of three, actually, for this side of the broadcast. We're really excited to get this one underway for some good Valorant action as we continue on for even more titles throughout the rest of this week.
Yeah, we have 3 titles that we cover every single week, and obviously, as you said, it is going to be Valorant today. We are going to be starting with New Bern versus Jones Senior. We're going to be going to Ascent, and I imagine this is going to be a very solid matchup. We've seen some solid games here so far in the Clutch X VESL stream. We are going to be on Ascent, and we're going to get into Agent Select real quick here.
Yep, and it looks like the Jones side is actually already picking up a fairly interesting selection of agents. It is Shadowheart, and actually, I believe, is this flipped for us, or is this correct? Yes, this is correct. All right, this is Clove, new agent, new setup, a double controller build so far for the Jones side. You can place those smokes after death, which makes you exceptionally viable for your team, and makes almost any other controller choice seem almost impossible to work away or to whittle against when you want to go in your agent selection. And yet still they go for the second choice, the old OG choice of the map of Ascent. That's going to be Astro for the secondary. Meanwhile, New Bern, they go for the classic. This is one of your standard, if not your standard Ascent selection, bar the fact we do not see a KO for their lineup. Instead, transferring over, having that Sky, which is still exceptionally strong with that Tasmanian Tiger for information and control up through mid, especially on that for attacking side they're starting off on. I'll have to see how it pans out. Having that lack of suppress, especially against such an ability-centric team like Jones is looking like, especially with that Gecko lock-in from Stormzy in the final few seconds there, I have to imagine it's going to be hard to counter.
Yeah, I mean, for Jones Senior, I'm hoping that they have some sort of strategy behind this double controller pick, because that's maybe a little bit more smokes than you would be accustomed to on a map like Ascent. As you said before, we normally only see Omen on kind of the default lineup for an Ascent pick, but to have Clove and Astra, you have about as many smokes as you could possibly want. Not only are you getting as many Astra smokes as you'd like with all those stars that she has, but you're getting the Clove smokes and you're finding them after death. So, it's just going to be very hard for New Bern to kind of get any sort of line of sight if Jones Senior is able to play it correctly. But maybe New Bern with their classic lineup can, kind of play to a little bit more regular style of Ascent play. Obviously, as you said, you would expect to see that KO in the default lineup, but we have Sky here, maybe get a little bit of a drone and dog action to get a lot of information for that side. We are going to have, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Jones Senior on the defensive end to start things out here. New Bern going to be attacking B here.
Slow build up so far, the pistol round. A lot of teams tend to just gush out of an opening, and since B main is the avenue of choice, they'll have to be first contending against the utility that is the KJ that is available for the Jones Senior side. Not too much in round one, but still yet enough to maybe keep New Bern away and get some trickling damage off as they attempt to try to expedite the push out through that walkway side. But there's the turret getting a little bit of extra assistance, and there's the whirlpool as well to keep them in the actual archway. As Jones Senior does strike first, it's Mercy Puss off towards Cyber Tiger. McLaurin tries to get a peek up to the other side, does connect to the head of BBH, but it's still a Jones Senior side finding the majority of these kills with just 2 now remaining for New Bern. Make it just the one. The Omen, the only player to find a kill and no more. Given the chance to them, Jones Senior dominate the pistol.
Yeah, and you see Jones Senior, they used that Astra smoke very early on there at that B main area, and they have so much time to rotate back. It was kind of a 5-on-5 attack there toward that B main side. New Bern, they just could not sneak out of that B main area. You could see that they had 2 players stuck at that deep side, and once you find 2 players in that area, it can be such a tough task to kind of sneak them back out. You almost have to smoke yourself or use maybe like a flash to get back out of there. But Jones Senior, they find that round 1 on the defensive end, which is most certainly what you want to see for the squad. And let's see if they can obviously continue on this anti-eco here. New Bern going back. They're kind of trying to just take any space that they can. It looks like McLaurin buys a Spectre here, so I'm curious to see how their economy looks in this next round if they do end up losing this one, but it looks like they're going for the win here. Let's see if they can find any kills.
New Bern making use of Cyborg Tiger's kit, work their way in through market, and mentioned with the Sky being on the option instead of the KO, you'll need to take control of the courtyard first and foremost, and unfortunately, while a lot of ground is claimed, it's not good enough ground as Jones Senior are quick enough to capitulate all kills they wanted. It's a 4v1 now remaining with McLaurin, who else to be the final player once again. And an even quicker result falling in favor for Jones Senior, despite New Bern getting there quite well, having no real contestation in through Fountain, no courtyard, a counterattack, and no peaks early by Jones Senior either. Kind of letting them take that space where they choose to do so. New Bern now they can head into round 3 with, well, as you would expect, hopefully better buys, but I think they may have overstayed their welcome or maybe overspent their welcome in round 2 and now have to pay the price going into round 3 and decide, can we full buy the team or do we have to sit a little bit further back, as McLaurin has not made the decision to purchase anything and has just a ghost in their hand while the rest of the team has some rifles.
Yeah, I mean, if you're New Bern, you definitely want to find more kills than you did if you are going to buy some guns there in the round 2 after losing that round 1. So now you kind of have a scuffed buy here, but they are going to make their way through A main. They have found their way on the site, but the kills not necessarily going their way. Already a 4v3 for Jones Senior.
Still a chance, but unfortunately Spooner's not able to get very much out of it, and just Grace is the final remaining player. Can't get too much working for him either. Jones Senior knew that with the SMGs they had in hand, they have to play very tight and close up to those smokes on the initial execute for New Bern. Yes, you can kind of ignore the jet that it kind of extends past you towards the Radiant crate. That's why you leave. Most of the time your Sova, obviously no Sova available for Jones Senior, behind the Radiant crate on stack for A site. If you can do so, the rest of the team can sit a lot closer, kind of keep them away from Switch, take them down as they exit out from it. And that double controller setup just means they don't have to worry too much about where they place those constellations early and about recollecting those and then buying time for replacements and getting the second smokes down and worrying about the kit. You also have the Clove to assist in that process and just make that dirty work, that little bit of diligence you have to work for as a controller, that much easier, taking the weight off of the single shoulder.
These rounds have been going very fast so far. So you see New Bern taking a little bit of a slower approach here. You do have Sky working up mid and taking that control, but otherwise you got a 2-1-2 default here. And it looks like they are going to be attacking this mid A section. Big sheriff kill out of Jet right there. So now A is a little bit open, and Sky's taking this control mid. That rotate is quick, though.
Cyborg nets themselves a second frag for the side of New Bern. Unfortunately, the possibility of a third total kill for this team will elude them as Stormzy strikes true for 2. Great shot from Where's My Dad. Another connection with that sheriff, and we're seeing New Bern seemingly on new life. Despite having the weaker weapons here and really struggling to even collect the rifles that they do take down from the hands of Jones Sr., it's Stormzy again off the board. Just crumbs remaining. They scrap up McLaren. They need to find 2 more on side, back both behind Jin. Crumbs will have to step off from rafters, makes a lot of noise in the jump down through, saw the head of the Jet, does secure it. A secondary chance, but caught off guard instead by Just Grace. And the first round for New Bern takes them 4 to get there, but they finally secure it, and they'll move on with something positive working in their direction. The scoreline now 3-1.
Yeah, and you see New Bern. They attack that A site. They find that first pick, and that site is completely open. You could see Jones Sr. trying to rotate quickly, but it was just too little too late. You can never count down Clove in those 1v3 opportunities because that extra movement speed and that 150 HP at times can be such a tough fight to take, but they're able to cut them down, and they get that first round win that they most certainly needed at this point. We are starting to get some ultimates on the board. You see 3 for Jones Sr. Let's see if they maybe utilize them, but looks like New Bern going to be taking a slower approach yet again, working this mid-side area, and they use that dog. They know exactly where Clove is, and now they can take the space that they need.
Issue for Jones Sr. is that a lot of those ultimates typically are more valuable on the retake for the defense. And New Bern haven't always been given the best chance possible to step in towards a site. They get the first blood, the Jones Sr. side does. They'll acquiesce another one right back in return, off towards the A site instead, as the Jet will relocate themselves back to the rest of the team. Spike sitting inside B main, typically leave this by Octopus, leave this in lobby. But they decided to kind of over-aggress this, leave this in the hands of McLaren because they have the shrouded step to kind of escape that more deep pivoted position. Crumbs picks themselves back up with their own ultimate, the Resurrection, as Shadowheart strikes for 3 in quick succession. Jones Sr., who were keeping even with this New Bern side, find new life, and it's just the single player of Cyborg Tiger remaining, able to finish the job off towards Crumbs. But the 2 remaining players both have an ultimate in the back pockets. Will you run it back if you're the Phoenix, or do you play in for a retake in the final few moments? Spike is yours and under control. They have a choice. Either contest early against Shadowhearts or have to pivot off towards site first and relocate yourself in through markets. You'll manage to get Smike stolen away from Shadowhearts, but you've been spotted, and their 4th kill will not be denied in this round. 4th round as well for Jones Sr.
Yeah, and kind of the issue for Jones Sr. in that 2v1 situation was that they were so separated. You had Phoenix on that B site with no way to kind of help out Astra toward that mid side of the map. Shadowheart plays it absolutely perfectly on low health, tucks themselves right into that corner. As soon as that bomb picks up, Sky makes those noise, or that noise, you peek out and you find that final kill. So good plays out of them. Now though, for the side of New Bern, you have 4 ultimates to your name. You have that KJ ultimate. I think that Sky is going to have a very nice utilized ultimate as well in this sort of situation. They're going toward the A site for now. Curious to see if they invest that Killjoy ultimate to maybe sneak their way onto that site.
Bladestorm has been popped to New Bern, looking for another chance, another shot, another stab at the Jones Sr. side. The Bladestorms being mostly used here as a point to kind of help the eco out for this attacking side, who is seemingly struggling to get something working out for them. They'll pop the Seekers heading into this round as the second ultimate now for the New Bern side goes forward. The Jet does get a great strike off towards Shadowheart, but unfortunately where there's one, there's 2 controllers, but now both of them have been dusted, and unfortunately killing the Clove means nothing here, Jake. You still have the chance to place those smokes in the afterlife. Now they're just waiting for the perfect chance to do so as New Bern, despite the success of 2 kills on the A site, realize all 3 are there and will retreat back off towards the B site instead, now taking control of Courtyard.
Phoenix pops that ultimate as well, that run it back, so now you can't use that in a retake scenario. You do see Jones Sr. rotating back to B. They kind of are reading this play, and BBH able to pick one up on that market push. So now making it a 3v3 opportunity. This is anyone's round right here. 30 seconds left, but that bomb does drop. Big kill out of Cyborg Tiger there, but as I said, you still need to get that bomb down.
Cyborg has only 5 HP and not much to work with in terms of space. Too long of a line of sight for BBH, and it will put Jones Sr. now at an even 2 versus 2. Spike is too far for claim and control for New Bern. And due to that, they'll try to maybe find some sort of chance in the final few moments as red time is ticking. And McLaurin step for the shrouded step despite the chance to close that space. It fails. And they trickle in slowly but surely to the remaining Jones Sr. side. No reason to save the limited eco weapons they were bringing in that round as New Bern heads to the next, hoping this one will be different. And the eco doesn't look that different. With the half buy they went for the round prior. Jake, they're struggling to keep the eco under control, to keep it in the back pocket. They are going to have to do another one in a row.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. This has kind of been a tough eco situation for them for about as many rounds as we can recall here. It's 5-1 now. Obviously, more of a defensive-sided map here on Ascent, so you can still make this doable if you can get maybe 4 rounds on this attack. 5 rounds, hopefully, would be the best. And of course, anything extra would just be a bonus here. But on the side of New Bern, they are going to be pushing back toward that B site yet again, but it looks like Jones Sr., they are reading it perfectly. For New Bern, I want them to utilize this KJ ult at some point because you need any rounds that you can get here.
Yeah, I feel like we're not seeing enough defaulting from New Bern and not enough splits on the attack. There's nobody working through courtyard. Nobody's putting pressure off towards the A side. We've seen Where's My Dad now multiple times take control off towards A, get that first blood to help the team out and maybe alleviate some of the concern and pressure off towards B. There's none of that this round. It's flat. It's one-dimensional. And when you're already working with poorer weapons, you need to kind of make up for those sacrifices elsewhere with better positioning and plays, and we're just not seeing that. Jones Sr. are just lambs to the slaughter for this New Bern side. They're making sure they put the point across. 0 deaths for their side, a flawless round, and New Bern, any chance of their success, even despite popping the lockdown and trying to make use of a Hunter's Fear on top of it, nothing there for New Bern, and Jones Sr. are continuing to ride that wave of success into even further rounds, as you're looking at another New Bern buy where not everybody has enough to buy full armor and a rifle.
Yeah, I mean, they are able to maybe sneak away with some Bulldogs and some Sheriffs, but it's still not optimal, no doubt about it. At some point, you're going to want all Vandals or Phantoms on one side for that New Bern lineup. And back to that last round, I mean, the Killjoy lockdown is great and all, but if you're going to have to fight through the rest of KJ's utility, it's just not going to work out for you. Jones Sr.'s been doing such a great job of slowing down this New Bern lineup with those smokes, with those Astra Sucks, with the mollies, and it's just been such a tough task for New Bern to sneak on in. Jones Sr. find another first blood. Jones Sr., they do have the Astra Wall to their name, but they just haven't been able to get out of this choke points. And like you said before, not enough defaulting, not enough splits for New Bern. We are back at this A main area, and Jones Sr., they're reading right into it.
Yeah, Spike's been dropped as well. Really nowhere to regain control of that except for letting McLaren go over there. Because Where My Dad needs to be more careful about their own positioning and their own life more so than the actual objective at this point. They're even watching to make sure there is no flank brewing up for the Jones Sr. side. Stormzy is available to do so. They do have control over off towards Puppy and can really keep them away from Catwalk as best as possible, as New Bern will manage to relocate there that Spike is, and now pivot off towards an opposing side, taking the right decision to avoid a Catwalk, avoid Courtyard. Well, as soon as you think so, Where's My Dad immediately takes that space, which as a duelist, you should have the confidence to do so. But a double crossfire is held so devoutly from this Jones Sr. side. Crumbs off in Link, Phoenix off inside of actual Puppy. There is just no chance for anywhere to go for New Bern. And to make matters worse, as they attempt to escape in towards B lobby, there's nothing there either. Crumbs has control. Spooners can get a refrag, but it's too short-lived of success. There's no chance to get in towards sight. And where you think there's maybe a chance to ground any sort of control, it's clawed right back for Jones Seniors as they are up 7-1 now in this series, and New Bern needs to find a different answer. I think the big answer is just to bite the bullet for one of these rounds, just one, with nothing but Sheriffs, and then pray for the next to keep that loser's bonus padding up and have rifles continuously.
Yeah, it looks like for now they're kind of on a split buy here. You see Sova, Omen, and Sky all buying to 450 or less, but Jet and KJ saving for next round. So kind of miscommunication here for New Bern. You're going to want to see them kind of pull it all together at some point here like we've been alluding to, but Jones Sr., it's just been too easy for them so far. They're reading into this kind of A push or B push situation. They're taking that map control where they can. Now you see New Bern working toward this middle side of the map, but that leaves those B and A mains open. Let's see if Jones Senior attacks those yet again, or if New Bern are able to sneak something away here on this Gecko. They do find one, but will that be enough to open up a site?
Stormzy is at least good for their 1-for-1. You get your trade, and Jones Senior say, we're happy with your performance so far. Control inside tree will be given up for the time being, but you can see that Jones Senior actually willing to give up that space. And even despite that, they'll rotate their Phoenix off towards the A site to assist in Garden and leave their KJ all alone. Will Mercy Puffs be just fine and dandy on B? They have so much utility that is there and available to assist. And they also are located off on stairs, meaning any sightline they gain, which they've now 100% gained for Control, they know they can just continue to hold or fall back into the back of Boathouse and let the rest of the team move forward. As a great swing from BB Hobo secures their 1-for-1. Cyborg has to refrag, but McLaurin's down to a single bit of HP due to the decay and has to wait for the team to get their HP pool back, but the rest of the HP pool is already falling apart. Crumbs is on the flank. Mercy Puffs has a swing in from the main side of B, and it's both kills falling quickly for Jones Senior. 8-1 now the score as New Bern can't find the winning puzzle piece to the remainder of this half.
It looks like New Bern going to be taking a timeout here, going to try to get everybody on the same page, but I love what I'm seeing from Jones Senior thus far. They do a great job in that round of, they give up that mid space, but they're able to trap them in that market area with that KJ on that B site and that Gecko, or sorry, the Clove and the Phoenix coming in from that defender spawn side. It was just a tough situation for New Bern all around. You have the bad guns, you have the map position, but you cannot sneak out of that market side area. It's impossible to get that bomb down, and they just kind of run out of time. Yet again, now for Jones Senior, you still have that lockdown. You have the Gecko ultimate and the Astra ultimate as well, so you can use that in any sort of retake fashion that you want. New Bern, they don't have the ultimates they want, and after that last round bye, I can't imagine that they have the economy they want to all get the rifles in their hand yet again. So it's just been kind of a tough situation from start to finish for New Bern. Like you said, they're going to have to maybe come in here with a default, use that Sky Dog and Flash to take space, use that maybe Sova Recon and Dark to take space on the other side. But with bad guns, even if you play it properly, it can still be tough to win those fights.
And you got to keep in mind, with the double controller setup that Jones Senior are bringing, and even the fact that their duelist is a Phoenix of all duelists and not something like a Jet or even something like a Reyna, which is still somewhat popular for a lot of teams on the map of Ascent. Having no KO means no suppress, means no ability to deny that utility, no free 15-second span in an early stage of a push where it will just be a pure gun-up engagement for your side and you can play for a gun game. Lacking that in its totality puts New Bern in a really uncomfortable position on the attack where they start this game off in, and they have failed to make up the graces for it, and that's not that shocking and something you'll have to keep in mind. I was going to point out best default possible as well for New Bern in this round was going to be put your Jet off towards A like you had done in round 3 and in round 4, and then you could Shrouded Stepper from the Shadows, I should say, off away from B and off towards A instead. But your Jet, for the first time, it feels like, in the entirety of this first half on a split for New Bern, failed their initial push in towards the A site, and all the success that you've had, though only one kill, came towards B, and it also came at the cost of another player equaling a trade. Jones Senior may have just saved themselves a round loss as New Bern had the best shot possible to secure a round, and unfortunately, just get caught off guard with the movement, and now need to kind of think twice about where they'll push in from.
Another problem for this New Bern lineup has been crossing that mid-side area. They are able to pull it off this time. They get Sova and Omen in that tree side, as Omen does pick up a kill onto Shadowheart as well, so KJ is able to sneak onto that site. You still have Clove and Gecko to fight through, and those have been some very strong players for this Jones Senior roster thus far. The ultimate comes through for Gecko. Let's see if any detains come through. It doesn't look like they do, but the guns are still there. 3-on-3 attack here. Can Jones Senior make the retake happen again?
Oh, Crumbs, gorgeous headshots, the Spooners. Just one player in the back behind Jin and another one down in hell, and New Bern have no real chance to find themselves a kill. The only chance you had to really hold on to that was to pivot yourself off towards arches, play your default post-plant scenario for the default plant off inside of lobby, and unfortunately, your player's attempts to get over there, Spooners just couldn't find the space to get back in time. And a great swing out from Crumbs, realizing that they needed to be a little bit quicker on the exit up, and Rafters secures Jones Senior's a much easier post-plant scenario to just take those final 2 kills where needed, because you knew where one of them was lying, and the other one, it's a gamble behind Stack, which you could secure from Crumbs' POV or behind Generator, and it was a 50-50 gamble that you had to guess, which makes it 90-10. New Bern now with 1 round, 2 more in this half. Have to find these 2 rounds to make the second half manageable, because 9-3 is a curse, and a curse that a lot of teams don't want to have to fear against.
I mean, for Jones Senior, obviously, you still have the opportunity to make this 11-1, and that would just be the absolute, almost most perfect defensive half that you could possibly have. You see New Bern lined up toward this B site yet again. The KJ utility has moved over toward that A site, so you don't have to fight through that. Let's see if that decision kind of bites Jones Senior in this round here. You do have a lot of ultimates to use for Jones Senior, but the kill is still going their way. BBH, Astra, and Crumb still popping off. It is just light work for Jones Senior. They have been absolutely playing their hearts out, and they deserve a lot of these rounds. They've been playing some fantastic Valorant here in this game so far. You see Clove 15-5 for Crumb, Stormzy 13-4, the Duelist Phoenix 11-4. Everybody positive for the side of Jones Senior. They've just been playing absolutely lights out from start to finish here, and it's just so tough for New Bern to respond here.
In Mercy Puffs, I mean, you're looking at the bottom frag for your team, but their entire role and responsibility has been locking down these sites. And whether that was A, which we see now, or majority of the time we've seen on the B site, that utility has been one of the biggest factors for keeping New Bern out of these sites, because we've seen New Bern find success on a site when they get into the plant and can hold on to the plant and actually pivot for their position in a post plant. Where we don't find them finding success is on the initial exit and execute out of a site. And that's where Jones Seniors have been kind of keeping them at bay, stop gating any chance of success, as they will get a great flank off in towards B lobby, securing a first blood, and not only that, but a ton of damage off towards 2 out of the 3, if not just all 3 sitting in lobby. Spooner's denying the run it back from BB Hobo, and Stormzy making sure that this one will in fact end flawless. It is a dominant half for Jones Senior, 11-1. As you now swap on over, needing just 2 round wins here, Jay, to secure a 13-1 victory for Jones Senior's side.
And you can see the confidence from Jones Senior at the end of that half. You see Clove, that's going to be Crumbs just running down the middle of the map to try to pinch that tile side area, and it works out perfectly. They find one, they find 2 more as they push on through, and a great team push to kind of crunch that B main area. It's just so tough for New Bern to fight through in that scenario. Let's see what kind of strategies they have on the offensive side to close this game out swiftly. They don't want to give New Bern any hope here in this sort of scenario. They have the rounds that they want, and they want to close this game out in dominant fashion. I can tell you that. And it all starts with this pistol round for New Bern. If you want to make that comeback, you're going to have to put your all here into this pistol round to maybe make something happen. And you see they are getting a little bit overzealous there in the B main area, but I do like the confidence to keep on challenge even when you're down 11-1. You got to make something happen. You do find some damage. There is some Gecko and KJ on low health, but as Jones Senior fight up mid, they're gonna have the space they want.
Great shot from Cyborg Tiger, ensuring that Crumbs win low on HP due to the fight. The engagement with Vic Larn is not going to be left to sit inside of bottom mid for too long. Larn, despite the initial fight that they took the brunt force of damage in, will re-swing, re-go for an engagement, and Jones Senior come off on the back end of it once again. That's a 2-player disadvantage now for the Jones Senior side, who has seen nothing but success for 11 out of the 12 rounds we've seen so far. Now struggling to keep the team up and running. Gecko sends out a quick flash, ensuring nobody's there. The wingmen will get this plant. That just helps to ensure that there's at least a free chance for a free gun to hold up for the time being, but a Nano Swarm will eventually deal with Wingman. You'll have to stick this one personally. You can start to prep the rest of the util. Post plant down below. Shadowheart in hell. McLaurin holding up and above. Will they survive? They will. 2 kills in quick succession. Just 1 now remaining. It's Shadowheart. She has a lot of weight on her shoulders as Cyborg 6 this one to half. Can they swing this freely? No. Spooner sits up on top of heaven, joined alongside by Grace, and New Bern knew the winning formula was to hold and secure Cyborg's position on that defuse. There was nowhere else to swing from. New Bern find their 2nd round win, starting the second half off perfect.
Yeah, I like the way they played that in the final 1v3. Obviously, you do not want to give Shadowheart any sort of opportunity to win that round. So they double hold underneath Heaven, and they find that defuse coming on through. So now you get the guns that you want for the first time for New Bern. You see that full buy coming on in for the squad. And now let's see if you can rattle off a couple more. I mean, the more rounds you find to your name, the more that Jones Sr. starts to worry that maybe they're fighting their way back into this. And if you are New Bern, you want Jones Sr. second guessing themselves as much as possible. We saw how confident they were at the end of that half, as they should have been as well. But as that Skydog finds a lot of information there, you're going to start to see Jones Sr. or New Bern react off of it.
Utility prepped for New Bern. You can see Cyborg's got a guiding light ready to send around the corner in through a B lobby, I should say. Jones Sr. will be, well, unfortunately hit with the brunt force of that flash. They'll send out a flash of their own, hoping that Stormzy finds something off the back of the util. Unfortunately, not much there. Until where my dad takes an unadvised, ill-advised swing out on walkway and gives up the site now for control for Jones Sr., who, if they get positioned in a post plant securely enough, may just secure a victory for their 12th and reach that match and series point they've been hoping for. As a Molly ensures the demise of one more McLaren for the side of New Bern. A right click for BBH, assisted by Stormzy. Drops one more of their life, and it's just Spooners remaining. Quickly forfeited just the same. The rest of the team down, and New Bern can't find two in a row and may not even be able to find three at the rate Jones Sr. are looking to secure this victory and match and series points.
Yeah, and we just see the firepower of Jones Sr. in that sort of situation. They find that first blood on the Jet holding that lane side of B, and they just absolutely attack off the back of it. They get that bomb down, and the teamwork we saw with the team shots, with the solid fire from Jones Sr. finds them the round win. You know that after you get that bomb down, New Bern is going to start to get a little bit antsy, and that's exactly what happens. So now you put New Bern in the worst possible situation to kind of make something happen here. This could be the last round of the game, but New Bern, of course, they're going to want to put their all here into this round. But for Jones Sr., they have that Gecko ult. Let's see if it nets them the site control.
Thrash comes out. No one's going to be taking control over just yet, but Spooners for New Bern puts up a good fight to keep the team back, but Team Jones Sr. will not be gate kept for the time being. It's going to put a lot of reliance on the Jet of Where My Dad sitting inside tree. 2 shots connecting with the Marshall. Jones Sr. struggling to keep that player count advantageous. Good swing, ill-advised though it may be. Great for the pixel peek and get the information. Just now Crumbs able to find their one. A second one as the shot goes up to Cyborg's head. A second swing gets the kill, but can't find the 5th needed. No ace for Crumbs, and New Bern stay alive in the series, getting the 3rd round win and keeping Jones Sr. still in the map of ascent.
And that just goes to show how difficult it can be to cut down Clove there in those 1vx scenarios. I mean, you know that Omen thinks that they are absolute 1 HP, but instead they're back to at least 100 health, and the kill does not go their way, but they still are able to convert that round. They have all the guns that they could possibly want. You see the Vandals and the Phantoms for the side of New Bern, so this is definitely the best case scenario. You aren't able to win the anti-eco in that round 2 of this half, but you're able to sneak away one more. So now Jones Sr. not going to be on the best buy possible. You are going to have to potentially fight through Clove a second time if they do use that ultimate, if they do go down. But now for New Bern, or Jones Sr., they are going to attack this B side area, but you got to fight through that KJ utility, which is a lot easier said than done.
Thankfully, a lot of the util has been kind of stacked back a little bit further. The close one will be removed, and the turret as well will be quickly destroyed, leaving just the util planted in both default spots for the side of Jones Seniors, where they would conceivably plant this spike once and if they get control over this B side. There's another spot where I think we're not seeing enough defaulting from either of these two teams. Now, Jones Senior realized that with the initial setup and all that utility destroyed on the B side, and with the total lack of really aggression coming out from New Bern, more likely than not, it's a stack up on that B side, and they need to rotate elsewhere, or at least create options elsewhere. But the step out from Tile, out from Link, leads to the demise of one more, and they have to claw that kill back And unfortunately, in the same saving graces of doing so, they forfeit even further life. Crumbs uses the resurrection, has to hunt for a kill. Can't secure it, unfortunately so, but the assistance may just be good enough as they have to move forward swiftly. Spooners with the flank takes down BBH. Stormzy shot to the body of Spooners once more, and it's just now Crumbs remaining. A sheriff in hand in hopes that they can get the gun that lays just 5 feet before them. But both sides are locked down, and Crumbs fails to collect the Vandal as they have to go back up for it again. And maybe even move over to where that spike is, because it's left back behind where Stormzy's was, and there's just no time to do so here, Jake. It'll be a defensive round win for New Bern as Jones Sr. still can't find that coveted 13th round.
Yeah, New Bern do a great job of slowing down Jones Sr. in that B main area. You see them have to wrap back out and fight toward mid, but the push just takes too long. You can see them run out of time. Obviously, Crumbs in that 1v2 going to be the one person you potentially want in a 1v2 situation to cement the game, get that final round, but the timer runs out for them. Sadly, they did have that Vandal in hand, but it's just too little too late. You want to see more of that from New Bern in the future. You're going to want to see them slow down Jones Sr. with that utility they have in their pocket. They have all the initiator util you could possibly want. You still have that KJ, of course, to slow down the other side. You can see that dog push out B main. They have the information that there is nobody there, so Sky is going to take that space. You see Cyborg Tiger working toward the tile side area, and you can kind of see Jones Sr. potentially falling into the trap that New Bern was last half as well, where they give up that map control by pushing all into one side at once. And New Bern could potentially capitalize off the back of that, but this A push, this A execute is coming in now.
Jones Sr. losing out on Crumbs is a bit of an unfortunate loss of life, but we pointed it out before, and we'll point it out as many times as possible. Crumbs is possibly, if not conceivably, the best agent we've ever seen released in Valorant for quality of life and for best case scenario for utility. When you're dead, you can't use your util, but Clove says, no, I still can. And now those smokes will still be viable for use for the rest of Jones Sr.'s side as they will rotate away from the A objective. They did not like the look there. And they'll cut off the tile pressure from Cyborg. But do they know there's a second? They conceivably do. It's Mercy Pups. Refrags this one back. And a weirdly placed Cosmic Divide will make the actual exit out from B main a little bit awkward. But once they've got control over the site, it's going to be a New Bern side now struggling to get back in towards the objective as the utility will start to be set up and thrown from the Jones Sr. side. 2 players in through market, 1 from defender spawn. Hunter's Fury to zone Mercy Pups away from Cubby, but it leads to Spooner's position being found by BBH, who clears all 3. Jones Sr. finally find their 13th, a 13-4 stat line as New Bern fails to bring Jones Seniors to their knees in the map of Ascent.
Yeah, and I like the play out of Jones Sr. They find that first blood onto Clove there in the start of that round, and so they rotate off toward that B side. And it looks like, Scott, we are already getting into our second match of the day here. It's going to be West Craven versus Washington, and a great showing out of that last match as well, just to put a little bit of a cherry on top. Shout out to Jones Sr. for taking home that match. Hope to see them more again in the future weeks of this season. But here we are, second match of the day, West Craven versus Washington, and we're going to be on Sunset here tonight.
Honestly, Sunset's a very solid map, especially if you can manage to get the attacking side first. It's so darn positive to just take control over towards the B objective to swing in so quickly. A is a lot of the times less often hit just due to the difficulties of swinging out from elbow and the control that defenders can have there. But so much of that is reliant on the defender's agent selection. I'm sorry to break it to you, West Craven looked like they've got themselves a pretty darn solid agent selection, as you would expect for this map. The only weird choice, I think, would be their duelist of choice, as they bring in 2 for the side here. Sunset typically would consider the Reyna almost like an initiator with that Lear, and hopefully we see Relocate actually choosing to act that way to assist the team, because barring that, you have the breach for these tighter corners, exceptionally strong for the utility. You have no Yoru, which is exceptionally popular as well as that secondary duelist choice for a lot of teams. Washington instead have opted to bring that out, and you don't have a Viper, which is another really solid agent for the map once again that Washington are bringing to the table. Overall though, Washington I feel like are missing that standard duelist, that one that gets out the gate like we'd expect a Raze or a Jet to be for this map, like we see Pluto opting to bring for West Craven. They have to rely on the Yoru, who, for a lot of teams, Jake, really consider Yoru as just an ult bot to get the VTOL back online and find the information to Z-ping your team.
Yeah, I would kind of think that Yoru is more of an initiator in this sort of map. You know, you have
Absolutely.
those flashes, you have that teleport, that clone is very powerful as well to enter into sight. So like you said, to not have that Raze or that Jet is a little bit of a tough situation for Washington. On the other side for West Craven, I really like the breach pick. You kind of touched on it there for a second, but that ultimate, and you can see kind of the way this map works on that mini map. That stun can be so powerful and lock down so much of a lane. And like I was kind of alluding to, that ultimate can be so powerful to retake a site, especially on those retakes for B and A. Those sites can be so small that the ultimate, there's nowhere to hide, to be honest. So it makes a retake almost free. We see Washington taking a little bit of a slow approach here. You got Yoru making their way toward this B main area, but you're going to have to fight through all of that Cypher utility, and that's why we see Cypher played so much on this map. You can just see that it's going to be near impossible for Washington to fight their way onto the site without breaking those trips.
Cypher, probably the single best agent on this map, purely for the trapwire placement on the exit out from B arches. So many teams struggle to clear it. It's near impossible to clear. You have to have the utility that can destroy it first and foremost, and thankfully it seems like Washington have the ability to pass through it. Use your Yoru to do so, but you may sacrifice too much of a positional disadvantage in through market, and you'll have to rely a bit too much on your smokes to do so. And that Clove, their responsibilities are already pretty high because most of their kit is purely built on fragging and dying to then be a little bit more useful in the afterlife for the team on top of that with your smoke placements. A little bit more difficult to utilize in comparison to that Omen with the Paranoia, with the Shrouded Step, with the smokes. As West Craven just demoralized the Washington side's attempted exit out from this B lobby side. 3 kills almost instantaneously back to back. 5 seconds remaining, no chance to extend in towards sight as Pluto is hunting for the coveted ace and will find it in the first round of this series here, Jake.
Pluto with some absolutely fantastic shots there on the B site, assisted by the Cypher trips as well that we were pointing out there before. You can see just how powerful it is. You see Cypher with 3 assists already to their name. Amazing shots out of Pluto like we were pointing out, but Washington just takes too much time there on the push. They don't have any way to break those Cypher trips, so you see them already going toward that A site. They're going to have to find some different ways to attack that B bomb site because, I mean, from what we saw in that round 1, it's just going to be so difficult, especially on those pistols, to kind of take care of that Cypher utility. You have the cam, you have the cages, you have the trips, so now you go toward this A site, but now you got to fight through breach, and similar to the B side, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, too many hallways, too many walls, too many corners and elbows, and that's where breach tends to thrive here, Jake. You harped on just how solid breach can be. It's an understatement. It's just too much utility, too much success on that side. Pookie will set up a tripwire, and that's actually pretty interesting to see them do so in that position and forces Listless to fall back even further. And now it's just sitting in an even further position back in towards closer to defender spawn. Nobody in the side of Washington trying to prowl up in through mid. No one trying to take control of defender spawn and wrap around to the A site, which almost feels like a necessity for a lot of teams and a lot of build-ups towards the A site. And instead, they'll say, well, if we can't guarantee a win early to get that first blood, we'll try to pivot off elsewhere, as you do see a relocating Viper Arena. I apologize, running off elsewhere. Gale still left inside mid. Will somehow find the saving graces to escape out from there just the same. Washington failed to find now 2 kills of escaping players through mid and lose 2 in the process even.
There.
And Pluto is only 2 orbs off of that ultimate, and that is not what you want to see if you're for the side of Washington. They have just taken so much time to kind of make something happen here on this map. They are going to wrap toward that B site. Wingman getting that bomb down, but Pluto still popping off. I mean, the shots are so good, and Pluto's already got 9 kills to their name.
They just needed 1 kill from when you said that and then to die in this round, and they would have had that showstopper up and ready. Now, 3 kills on top, icing on the cake, and 9 total secured just one to the hands of Gil, just denying them the possibility of the double ace back-to-back. It's West Craven's game, and Washington is here to have to face off against it. They're setting the tone early, and with the total lack of success we've now seen from Washington, not just in round 1, but also in round 2, now it puts them in a spot where you'd say, hey, round 3, step in with rifles, try to go up with everything you have to your name. They don't have anything. They haven't gotten the credits from a spike plant. They haven't gotten the credits from kills, meaning they don't have the money. They don't have the credits to buy up everything they would want heading into round 3 to have that rifle buy they're hoping for. And that's just going to make this even more difficult for Washington, who have to claim so much more space and have already struggled to do so with Pookie's initial swing in through elbow, leading to a shot from Relocate, dropping them to 5 HP.
What you can say is Raze does use that ultimate and does not find anything with it, but Listless makes up for the missed showstopper with 2 Vandal headshots, making a third as Breach is flying, and now every single player on this West Craven roster has the ability to pop off, it seems. And now these last 2 players stuck in the A main area. That Cypher Trip is going to pick them up, but is this going to be another ace for the West Craven squad? No, it will not, but another flawless for them, as they are just playing perfect.
It's a lights out showcase, and I want to point out, I'm just losing my mind over the beauty of that round for West Craven. Listless knows the winning condition to get Relocate any success off towards elbow in the reswing after the first peak nets themselves 2 sight lines for Washington. It's to splash them out. They do so, and that's one of the great boons of having that breach, is a quick flash, and on top of a quick flash, the ability to then start firing as the flash is going off as well. It leads to 2 players being flashed. It leads to Listless getting those 2 kills and then following up for the 3rd. And then when you think that's it, West Craven say, we've got another proverbial flash. It's the Lear sent from the Reno. Will be a secondary initiator like I highlighted in the agent selection phase. They send a Lear through the wall, and once again, Washington, should they have chosen to peek there or would have been able to peek there, barring Gil's flank, would have also lost their sightlines in the process. It's these stages, it's the steps for West Craven, beautifully outlining what they need to do as a winning condition in these rounds in keeping Washington back. As you can see another just slow round for them here, Jay, because they just have really no clue where they need to swing towards, especially when they don't really have the weapons to swing anywhere.
And you can see the arrows of West Craven on the minimap. They do seem a little bit confused as to what's going on there on the Washington side, but what is going on is a slow A push, which is something that I do like to see here. You want to play patient, you want to take your space when you can, and they do find this elbow control potentially, but Breach and Raze are moving quickly. They're going to have to strike fast, or else they're going to have to fight through a lot of utility here in this elbow.
Relocate, forced to fall back, 74 HP, lost a lot of the armor they had, but the plot armor that is West Craven is still alive and thriving. The 4-player stack in through elbows, quickly becoming 5. No tertiary positioning from Washington. They just got to take this space, and they've got to do so quickly, as it will be Andy R2D27 to get the first blood, but it's quickly refragged back, and Washington are finding some kills for the first time in this series, but West Craven keep the man count up. And the 2 remaining for Washington have to escape from this elbow side. There's just no time to move elsewhere. There's no time to fight elsewhere. And West Craven knows that and plays it to a T. 4-0 now the scoreline, as Washington have to start thinking a little bit further than just a 5-stack through a single alley. They got to start moving up for tertiary positioning, like maybe 2 players through mid to then take market, or rotate through Boba and then 3 through B main. Anything that is supplementary to your main push would be great for Washington here.
I mean, Washington, they most certainly need to kind of expand their strategy pool here in this game so far, but it is just so hard to fight through a player who is 13-0. And some of that comes off the back of the rounds that they're winning, puts them in a bad economy, but you can see just the way that Pluto is taking these chows. They are so confident right now in just winning every single one of these gunfights, and they have not lost one. So it's going to be so hard to slow this player down, slow down their main duelist, this Raze.
Wow.
And when Breach is finding kills with the boom, it's just a tough spot, but a big kill out of Cypher to even the odds here.
I mean, Listless and Relocate have been the perfect duo on this ace side. And while you do see Pookie eventually swing over, sorry, Pluto eventually swing over. Pookie was on the last team we saw. When you eventually do see them swing over, you have to be very careful about when they time it, the timing for vision versus kill attempts. And as long as you can coordinate that well, especially with the double initiating power you essentially have for West Craven on this site, time it well, you're going to do very well for yourself. Listless now 3 kills to their name. The get-go of Andy R2D27 off the board. Gil able to climb something even further. There is Pookie right there. And there's Listless right back. 4th kill in the round. We've seen an ace, and we've seen now 3 4Ks for almost different players. 2 of those have been Pluto for sure, but such a spread for West Craven here. Just lights out for Pluto and Listless, Jake.
And Slimmer hasn't had to do anything. 4 assists to their names, 0 kills, 0 deaths. I mean, that is just the perfect game to have as a Cypher so far. I mean, you can just see the impact that that first round brings onto the rest of the game. Okay. I mean, Washington has refused to go back to this B side. It looks like they are going to opt to do that now just because they have kind of run out of options here. They have to work toward a different site, and it is going to be through B main this time. But as we talked about before, I would love to see maybe a split push, try to fight for this mid control and B main at the same time, but it looks like it's going to be another 4 stack here in the B main area, and already Washington seems like they're ready for it.
Keep in mind here, Jake, so much the reasoning why Washington have opted not to continue to pressure off towards B has been the control that a Cypher nets by their lonesome, might I add, purely with the tripwire. If they could find an ability, find the spacing to remove that tripwire, then that makes that B side so much more free, big quotes there, for the taking. And a lot of that's going to come off and pressure in through markets, which means you have to take middle courtyard, you have to swing in through door, you have to get into market. And then you have to also find the secondary tripwire, which you do not know where it currently is. And it is on that market door. Listless, 2 kills back to back. The resurrection is available and opting to be used by Aquaboy, who finds the kill needed to stay up and running. But the rest of the team is already starting to forfeit their own lives as they have to find everything with little to nothing in your pocket. It's Aquaboy for their second, the Spectre. The only thing they had between the 2 of them, able to secure it, as a rifle will finally be collected by Naughty.
You know, Washington puts themselves in a 2v2 situation, but they just do not have the time on the clock to make something happen. They haven't got the bomb yet. They have to fly toward A. It looks like West Craven are both ready for it. You have Reyna and Cypher backside. They're starting to doubt themselves because there's just no time left on the clock. Doesn't look like Washington. They will get the bomb down for the credits, but West Craven, I mean, they will absolutely take that. They have the rifles that they want. Obviously, that round doesn't go perfectly for them. It ends up in the 2v2 situation after those breach first bloods, after the Raze kill as well. Things just kind of snowball into Washington's favor, but still does not go their way. You're starting to get some ultimates for the side of Washington. You have that Cypher utility. If I'm Washington, you got to play for that Yoru just to make that information go your way, because I feel like that's kind of been the tough spot for Washington thus far. They have no Sova, they have no Sky, they have no information to their name. They do have the Cypher cam, but that is about it. So I feel like this Yoru ultimate, if you're able to get this, you have to convert this round, because it might be one of the chances you have to get back into this game.
Yeah, and so much of this is going to be reliant on West Craven forfeiting early first bloods, and I'm just not seeing that really be an option. Whether it's Listless or not, who has to send the utility directly at Andy there, which is quite funny as a breach to do so. Whether Listless gives up those kills or not, it's that double initiating that is just so powerful on that A site. West Craven have arguably one of the best defensive compositions for agent selection you could possibly ask for, but it's greatly benefited by the fact that Washington don't have the ability to close that space. They don't have a duelist that can move in quickly. The Yoru doesn't have the utility that a Raze or a Jet have to tailwind through or boost pack their way into a deeper position on the defense, to separate sidelines, to force contention elsewhere. Lacking that puts Washington in a very directionally front forward push, which leads to West Craven never needing to turn more than 90 degrees any direction to get a kill here, Jake.
You're most certainly right about that. And off the back of these first bloods, they're taking so much space. You see that push into that side mid area. The Raze rocket gets invested. They don't really even need it. They're taking the information they want. You see Washington moving back toward that B site. Let's see if they can get this Cypher trip off the board. But as Slimmer picks up that wingman kill, they might be able to sneak onto the site, but West Craven has the info they need.
It's connecting, and West Craven will actually give up something here from the hands of Pookie, who is still up and standing, but that's not going to be for too much longer as Pluto lines them up and quite literally knocks them down. Another round for West Craven. 4 in a row for Pluto. 22-2. We are looking at an 11 KD side for one player on West Craven's roster. This may be one of the biggest statistical anomalies you'll ever see on this map of all time, especially when arguably it's one of the most attacker favored maps in the Valorant pool today. It's a defensive West Craven, a defensive Pluto as a Raze that's securing these victories for their side. Washington just, they're at their wits' end, and I do not disagree with that whatsoever when I just don't see them changing the strategies, changing the status quo, and finding a way to alleviate those concerns. They need to pivot a little bit more successfully, controlling courtyard, maybe even move in towards defender spawn a bit more effectively just to create those tertiary angles.
I feel like if you're Washington at one of these points, you're gonna have to call a timeout and kind of get the team all on the same page, because whatever you're doing is just not working out so far. You are kind of getting a mid split here, which I do like from the side of Washington, but as that breach utility gets utilized, they are going to be in a can, and they are getting sliced up with Gil with a 3-piece off the back of that breach ultimate. And I mean, that is just the West Craven we are used to at this point, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's just gonna get worse. Gil finds their big limelight, their side in the spotlight, and where Pluto wants to at least make sure they're still a part of this round. The 4th and 5th kill goes to Pluto's name all over again, dropping them up to even further highlights, 24-2, as West Craven are now up 9-0. Me and my main duo for Val always say 3 feels like the minimum you need to work with for the majority of maps. But when you highlight the fact that this map is attacker favorited, and it's a map where you have not found any success so far, you gotta feel like it maybe needed to be 4 or 5 even on this half for your team to have a chance for the second. I need to see a timeout from Washington. You brought it up. It needs to be brought up to them. It's use it or lose it. You have access to it. And unfortunately, I don't think they know that. And they can't stop for a moment to help halt the progression as Pookie, I think, is going to body check this tripwire. And they'll send the Thrash through it instead. Honestly, utility to clear, it's infinitely better than a player loss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you wouldn't want to use that Thrash. Maybe you could have used a Wingman to get that tripwire off the board, and you still have yet to shoot it. So, Raze is going to find that kill. Pluto still picking up where they left off. The trip gets shot, and now they are funneled into this B main area. They are forced to back up. And Omen, they have that mid control. So, Washington going to wrap out, but at what cost?
I think the tripwire is placed just at like belly button height, like waist height, and that's the Wingman is a little bit too short to actually clear it. Though the utility would be really darn good to do so. Maybe if Wingman is technically dropped from Gecko's hands, you could argue you could get really close to the tripwire and drop it, but they don't know the exact positioning of it. You can see that Washington have been fumbling to try to find the exact location of it throughout this game so far. It is a Pluto success story, and that doesn't seem to be changing. 3 kills now to their name. Another swing in further. Listless goes down, but it's just limelight and success for Pluto and relocates. 4 kills for Pluto. A lot of that greatly helped with the fact that your Clove for the side of Washington revives themselves to get themselves back into the fight, allowing for another kill to go forward. But it's just a West Craven round win because they forced them an impossibility out through B main and make them fight into the double initiator prowess that is the A site.
And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the start. If Washington has a Raze or even a Sova, you can use those shock darts or that nade to take care of that Cypher utility at just, you know, a moment's notice. So that kind of goes to show how important a player or an agent like that can be on a map like this, because, you know, you can't really blame them. These Cypher trips can be so hard to shoot. It's around that corner. It's around the corner of B main, and it's near impossible to shoot unless you get stuck by it, or like we were talking about, you use that Raze or Sova utility. So now they are going to be back toward this B site, maybe just throwing a little bit of a fake over here, because I mean, it has just been so hard to sneak on in there. One thing you can say, West Craven has not taken that mid map or that A main control just yet, but they are going to be fighting it.
A really awkward spot for Pookie to be in. They're trying to swing forward out to the trap wire. They throw a cypher cage to do so and think that's the trap wire. And unfortunately, it's their own utility on the ground they toss to bring up the cage. Wes Craven, though, on this exit out from Washington with so much prevalent information there since the trap wire is still there. It just continuously resets and just makes it an even further capitulating point of success for Wes Craven. Awkward Boy able to get a kill and maybe get a little bit of extra HP on top thanks to that clove kit that's so built up on getting those kills and kind of snowballing that effect. But it is just a success game for Pluto. There's really all that is to it. Pluto has created the destruction on B, assisted by Slimer on the util, and it's been listless and relocate gatekeeping A, all by their lonesome, waiting for Pluto to swing in after the fact to get the kills. Wes Craven have one of the most beautiful defensive positionings and agent selections I've seen for this map, and they're playing it to a near perfect T. In Washington, they're gonna need to VOD review this, and if they do, I think the potential, Jake, for them to create a near perfect lineup for this map and to recover on this even agent selection is unbelievable. They have the potential. They just need to review a little bit further.
Yeah, we are going to see seeing Wes Craven in the future matches here of this season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play against other teams, if they play against some top teams here, because, you know, obviously they're going to show how good they can possibly be. The potential is just sky high for this squad, especially with somebody like Pluto, who is 32-2, by the way. Might have gotten a kill since this round started, but I mean, just some unbelievable stat lines. Listless taking the A main control, and they can just do no wrong here on this map. Yet again, Washington has been funneled in. Another 3K, make it a 4K for Listless. As even while Pluto has been popping off just forever in this game, it seems, Listless has been no pushover as well.
Yeah, like I said, it's that A site control. When both sides are an impossibility for an attacking team to push against on a map that should be favored for you, you have to kind of look at where the success stories are, where that success is being found. And it's the speed and swiftness of Pluto to know where we're seeing Washington swing in from and to allow and trust the team to be the initial contenders, to take those early fights, to contend against that and say, they'll bide their time where needed, and then I'll come in afterwards, either from a side angle or straight forward, whatever it takes, and clean up the pieces that are remaining. Listless and relocates. It's the perfect tandem duo, much like we've seen Gil and Slimer be on that B site, and Pluto just can be wherever. That's just how good this Wes Craven side is looking and how good they are. So they'll move in towards the A sites, and Nani gets a very good kill off towards Pluto. That is their third death entirely in this game. And Drake's up there like 15 plus KD and lowers it by a lot, unfortunately, because that's how deaths tend to work. But I'm sure they're plenty happy as another kill goes in their favor, and Wes Craven are just 3 single frags away from taking this map flawlessly 13-0.
Reyna and Breach going to be at low HP, so Washington are not out of this round just yet, but Gil is just going to be such a hard player to clear here. It looks like Pookie has the idea that Omen is tucked into that corner, but it's still a tough task to retake. Listless gets that information on the jump from Jen. 3v4 scenario here. How are Washington going to fight in?
I don't know if they're going to fight in at all here. It seems like Washington are sitting inside defender spawn. They have to start moving in. Time is going to be the biggest factor, and they're not gonna. That's it. Wes Craven have secured themselves that 13-0 victory that they were hoping for. And on a map like this, to do so is not only a biggest factor for success, but having a single player like Pluto go so astronomically out of the norm, I would say, Jake, for your stat line in general, it's beyond impressive. I can't say anything else. It's just that is the team to look out for. Wes Craven on the team to watch. Oh, my goodness, they're beyond impressive, Jake.
They are most certainly impressive. Like I said before, I'm interested to see them play other teams to see if Pluto can. Obviously, it's going to be near impossible to keep up that sort of impact, and from the side of Listless as well, but they are obviously one of the top dogs here in VESL Valorant, so it's going to be interesting to see how they play against some other opponents, and it looks like they are going to be in our next match as well, so I'm interested to see if we have the same lineup. They are going to be going up against Havelock on Bind here, so let's see how they play here, Scott.
Yeah, I think Bind is in typical agent selection fashion, you're not going to see what we just saw. Breach isn't as powerful. We typically bring a Brimstone instead. So there's going to be some changes, but I think the biggest one's going to be Raze is still ridiculously good on Bind here, Jake. And who was on Raze for the entirety of that map? Pluto. And that's the player we're trying to keep an eye out for and that we're trying to been looking out for. I think it's absolutely doable. I think we're just going to jump straight into the game as well. I don't think there's going to be any problem for it. I think they're about as ready as we'll also ever be at that point. I want to see Pluto go absolutely crazy here once again, but I also want to see Havelock give them the best possible fight.
Yeah, and now that we've kind of seen how they play, we can react to how this agent select goes. Obviously, we have Pluto on that Raze yet again. Listless and Relocate going to be playing Initiators, big surprise. And then you got Slimer and Gil. Looks like they have some very set compositions for their roster. And then the other side, new team Havelock, you're going to have that Cypher KJ double Sentinel on Bind. They have not locked just yet, but one thing you can say is they most certainly will have a Brimstone.
Where else but Bind? Also Haven. We saw Brim a lot in Haven, but that was also like
it was more in the Astra days.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue with that. The double controller on Haven. I actually miss Haven. That's one of the few maps that's not in the pool anymore that I actually look back at and say I wish that was still here. I did not think the same thing with Breeze when it was taken out. And I still think it should be taken out again because that map is just something else, it seems like. Havelock locking in their agent selection, though, and a fairly interesting selection. Both teams picking up the Gecko. That's interesting to me, as Gecko has been very popular for these high schoolers throughout the day. I think we've seen it now in every single map we've had going on, even on Ascent of all places. But you have the KJ now officially being locked in. A Yoru, which, like I've mentioned, is having that orbital V-set. You're that ult bot for your team, but you also don't want them to be the only duelist on the team. And this is another case where we are seeing that happen to be true. The only duelist here is your Yoru, which means you don't have the ability to extend out from the gates of a short for this side of Bind, or even out of Hookah and Octagon effectively. Closing that gap is going to be very difficult. But this is where that Yoru TP, that Yoru clone, has even more space to walk into a site, because it's a lot less treacherous in corners here, Jake, than it was on our previous map, which was nothing but corners, which is why Breach is so powerful.
One thing you can say is starting out on attacking is going to be tough for this Havelock roster, because you have KJ and Cypher on the roster, so maybe you can throw some trips on that TP shower side to make sure that they can't sneak on through. But otherwise, there's not really an upside to having both of those Sentinels on the team, especially on this attack side. Obviously, the Yoru very powerful on a map like Bind, but to me, it's similar to how we talked about it there on the Sunset, where he's more of an initiator type of guy. He can get you into those showers. He can get up long B very quickly, sneak you into Hookah as well. That clone can be so powerful to kind of throw teams off, and that TP can get you across the map in an instant, but definitely not a traditional duelist like we see Pluto have with that Raze in hand. So it's going to be interesting to see how we see West Craven react to kind of a similar roster to what we saw there on that Sunset. Havelock going to have to come up with some very strong strategies here to sneak in onto these sites and kind of make something happen. The one thing you can say is with that double Sentinel, if you get on the site, the retakes become a little bit harder for West Craven, since you have those trips, you have that turret with the mollies. Interested to see how this kind of pans out, especially after we saw West Craven absolutely dominate that last map.
Also point out, the Yoru on a map like this isn't required because you already have TPs built into the map, so having an extra, TP on top of it to pivot a little bit quicker and to rotate sites isn't a requirement. You have those available for the team directly to the opposing objectives. It's still exceptionally strong, but it's not something that needs to be required, and sacrificing a mainstay duelist for that is a sacrifice that is very niche. I won't say it's the wrong choice. There is no wrong choice in Valorant for agent selection. You can lose games in agent selection, but it's not a wrong choice. It's a playstyle difference that can make up for that. But you do have that flank, the wraparound in through showers, a catches off, a brim for brim. That's totally all right for Havelock. They'll take that space that they could have had in through a short, and they'll move in through Hookah instead, directly into the utility of this Cypher of Slimer and Listless, who's back onto a bit of an initiating success, this time off to the sky instead of having the breach they were on previously. And they've been spotted, and unfortunately, they didn't get pinged. They missed.
Absolutely tough situation there. You have all of West Craven at this backside area minus the Gecko and Brim. They are going to be trapping these players in here to this B site. So Havelock is forced to work toward B here through the Cypher trips, through the Cypher cam, and all of the Initiator and Duelist utility. And you're running out of time very swiftly here. They're going to have to make a play now.
Wingman goes forward. There's your Yoru being spotted. Fortunately, Trashbo did not sniff clone first. Can't really have the clone jump up now, can you, Jake? But it does put Havelock down at a double player disadvantage. Make that a triple. Fourth now into it. It's just the Gecko of Gangi remaining. And the Wingman did get the plant down, and there are some credits and some happiness to be there. Your own Wingman can now defuse it, and you can go Wingman for Wingman, bar for bar. West Craven get through this first round successfully, and a lot of that comes off of realizing where Havelock are, which is very impressive considering that they don't even have a huge information-heavy agent selection, and it's also not much utility in terms of your agent selection for a first round.
Yeah, and I think where Havelock kind of failed to close out that round is they just worked a little too slow through that hookah side area. You could see earlier on in that round, you see Gecko and Brim pushed up through Shower. You had Raze over there as well to watch that short area. So as Havelock rotates back to B, they kind of have the timing that they want, but they second guess themselves. They play a little bit too patient, and then it allows West Craven to kind of push in through the flank and allow Raze to come into backside to help. So it caused them to get kind of stuck there, where if they took a little bit of a faster approach, they might have been able to sneak on site and get that bomb down if they pick up one. But instead, now you're on the anti-eco, and Listless finds that first blood. We know how powerful Sky can be at B long, and it goes to show one last time as they pick up the first blood.
No, but Gil's got one in their line of sight. A little bit better next time, Gil. I believe in you, but still a clean and closed out kill, especially with Relocate just a few feet behind you. Pluto changing up the game, the transgressions of levels for where you're going to swing from, uses the boots pack to assist on that. And now your best guess is that the two remaining players, they kind of have to be inside hookah. They would have to rotate through spices, which Enigmatic was already close by. It wasn't going to be a big concern. Sorry, Relocate was already close by. It wasn't going to be a big concern. They rotate through there anyways. And, you know, the full stack of three was waiting over towards Fountain, and now you've gotten the bit of information you were hoping for. Not only were they, in fact, in hookah, they were rotating elsewhere. I think the scariest part of this West Craven team, Jake, is that it feels like they always understand what the other team is building towards and working towards, whether it be a team that is struggling to find round wins like we saw Washington in the game prior, or even Havelock, who looks like an exceptional roster and has found already early success, though no round win. They understand where they're going and how they're going to play it out, just purely off of first initial peaks and understanding that they just need to poke for information and not poke for kills like we saw so much of on Sunset just previously.
See Brim and Gecko working toward that showers control yet again. They don't have the rifles that they want, so Yoru and KJ are able to get the first blood, which is big for them. Obviously, this is the bonus for West Craven, so they don't necessarily have the best utility in the world, but this is a good push for Havelock. They pick up that shower push very early on, and now you should get this bomb down for free as Wingman gets thrown over there, so you have all the control you want. Obviously, West Craven forced to move toward Heaven. Let's see if they can get any picks here. You need kind of one entry to make this round possible.
They've got control of Lamp, but West Craven are clawing back these kills in quick succession. Enigmatic getting their trade back instantly. Slimer caught off from Trash Boat through showers. It's just Pluto. 18 HP in a dream. The next shots that go off towards Havelock will have to be pixel perfect as they'll be funneled back even further by the Gecko util. The Molly not going to do much more past it as 4chan swings out with a stinger and bites the bullet. That's finally Pluto going down. Only allowed 4 kills this time though, Jake, as West Craven will give up their first round loss we've seen now in 15 rounds in a row for wins.
Yeah, what you can say about this map is it most certainly is a little bit more defensive friendly here than Sunset. So, to get the pistol round and that second round, definitely something to be said about that. But Havelock bounced back quickly with that bonus, and they still have some rifles to their name. You see Yoru and a couple more rifles for the squad. You see Enigmatic with the Bulldog as well. So, now we kind of got a B push kind of setting up here for the Havelock squad, but what I'm worried about is West Craven has been so quick on these flanks, and the trip placement from Havelock, given they do have 2 Sentinels, so that flank should be impossible, but already from West Craven, we've seen multiple pinches, and you're forcing Brim to pick up that flank, which I feel like could be done with just a Cypher trip here.
That is true. But I also feel like there's so many stages to the level of play here. But I'm also just concerned about where your trips are in the first place. There's 2 steps to this. You can't trip off every angle, but you also need to place the trips. Like, you have the utility. If you die with the utility in the pocket, you're obviously not doing something right. Gengi finding a kill and refragging the loss of face smoocher, and even taking a second step past that as even Slimer, who took the step out from elbow, let's go down. West Craven kind of in a really bad spot. It's Pluto with only a sheriff, and their second loss of life now to their side. It's West Craven really just giving up a lot of control. They're playing for the eco. They knew what they had in hand, and this loss and the inevitability of it is expected in a variable that they knew was coming. It's just a matter of trying to move past it now, as they'll go for another kill and hope they get at least 2 weapons knocked off for Havelock. But that will elude them as Trashboat gets the great shot to the head of the remaining player and puts West Craven now up in a tied game against Havelock 2-2.
West Craven facing some adversity here in this game as the game gets tied up. And one thing to worry about as well is you got 2 powerful ults for the side of Havelock to maybe sneak away another offensive round here. You have that Yoru ultimate and that Gecko Thrash to make something happen here. And you can see them leaning toward A. I could imagine they utilize this Yoru ultimate just to get all the information you could possibly need. You can run through showers and find every single player on the West Craven roster to boot. But the first blood for West Craven goes their way. The trade is there, but still, you have the information you want if you are West Craven.
Bit of a fallback plan must be made by Havelock. They've lost a trade they weren't necessarily anticipating. There's not a very close TP. That's the other downside of the A site here, Jank. So much of your control off towards B on the attack allows for a TP very quickly off over towards showers. Complete opposite side of the map, but to use the TP to get from A to B requires you to be through shorts and to peek directly into Heaven's line of sight. And you have no clue who or even what is going to be lying in wait up there. Could be an operator, could be a player with a ghost in their hand. You never truly know. But even that information that the ghost player does find is infinitely more influential than what anyone else can really say if they're hiding back and not peeking that. Pluto, round this corner, needs to go for an early peek, gets the intel, will fall back as the utility is sent out here from Havelock. Setting up the initiation, Pluto has to fall back and can't! It's Trash Boat! Great shots up, it's Duck Hunt, baby! As Havelock, secure kill needed to now get this spike down on the A side and set up a positive post-plant position and hopefully relocate the rest of the team, but they're way too static. Why are 3 players holding from truck? They've got to put a player in shower. Thankfully, you got Trash Boat to do so, but too many players are holding direct in through lamp. And they're going to be very careful about that as there is Thrash sent out and Slimer gets the kill off in lamp. What a hit.
The Havelock roster looking absolutely fantastic here. They're getting some nice sight control here in these rounds. You see West Craven forced to fight through that CT side area, and it's just such an uphill battle there when you don't send anybody heaven. You don't have that height differential that you potentially want, that player looking over top. And now Havelock, they use that Gecko ultimate to their advantage to get that information. They don't find a detain there, but it doesn't really matter as they're able to find the kills off the back of it as well. West Craven now have the Gecko ultimate, but not necessarily certain. You're going to have to play a full retake here to kind of get the use out of it that you would want. For the side of Havelock, you still have that Your ultimate, which to me is so powerful in a situation like that. You see West Craven get the information that they're not the shower side, so now you might see that jump spot get some information that you want. And Cypher set up here, so might be difficult for Havelock to sneak in here, but they're still going to fight it.
And lacking listless as well as lacking your Cypher on the A site, which it is the right decision to put them off towards B, means you don't have your arguably most effective jiggle peekers and flash peekers to help on any takes and potential rush-ups from Havelock on that A side, which just makes the job even more difficult. There's that VTOL coming out from Trash Boat, now off inside Hall. Will they get the kill? Pluto's caught lacking, and so is Slimer. Dusted now are 3 from West Craven. Make it a 4th on top, and the icing on the cake will be Gil, who does secure a needed pick to maybe, I guess, help out the mentality at the very least of West Craven, because the eco was so darn good for Havelock with 4 round wins in a row. Nobody is struggling to buy up everything they need. It is a very solid performance from Havelock's side as West Craven struggle when the rounds are going up with full rifles. Thankfully, they've got 5 ults here, Jake, to help them out. Just maybe we're hoping we would have seen those at all in the last 4.
I mean, you're going to have to utilize some of them to get your feet set here in this map. I mean, they rattle off 4 straight for the side of Havelock and West Craven. This is a much different game than what we saw on Sunset here. I love the timing of the Yoru ult for Havelock. Trash Boat is able to, allow his teammates to create some, confusion there on the site as he sneaks in through that elbow side. And there's just so much utility being thrown, so many gunfights going off that when he pops out of that Yoru ult, the 2 players at elbow are just not ready to fight at all. So he's able to find 2 right there, and that just cements the round for Havelock. Now, you already used the Sky Ultimate for the side of West Craven. You might have been a little early here, but you still got more to work with. But as Gangi finds Gil, that's a great start for them.
Trash Boat. Another one on top. West Craven just, unfortunately, salt to their already big wounds. As the plant comes forward from the wingman and the safety net of having all 5 players up with their guns ready to fire back. Just continues to bury the West Craven side. Slimer at least does get a frag going for themselves. The second one was there and available, but the body shots aren't good enough to take down Gangi, which is the exact same thing back at them, but quicker. As it is just relocate now remaining and a 1v4 stuck inside Lamp. And you've got to ask the question about where do you escape from here when both sides are in beautiful coverage from the Havelock side. And the only way out was directly in towards A short. And you just got to play for exit frags now as the time is already running out. They'll TP out. They'll hold on to the rifle. And no one for the side of Havelock is going to pressure this player to go for the kill. There's no need to. Just sit back and wait. It's West Craven letting up another, now 5 in a row for this Havelock side.
Some fantastic, well-coordinated pushes and relocate. Almost runs right into all of Havelock right there. That would have been a very bad situation because their economy is definitely not what you want it to be. You see, you can't really get a full buy for the side of West Craven, so they're going to be forced to save yet again, it seems. And you lose some of those ultimates that you would want to use in a round win, i.e. that Raze ultimate, and you use the Sky ultimate, I think, a little bit too early on. I mean, once you use that Sky ultimate so early in the round, I mean, in theory, Havelock can just shoot that bad boy down, and then you can rotate out if you want to. I mean, that's not the information you need. I would like to see that maybe more on a retake scenario, but instead, Havelock, they get their 5th round on the board, and for Bind, I feel like that might be all you need for an attacker side, but Havelock have a chance to keep it going, keep it moving, and maybe find a few more very solid rounds right here.
I mentioned it before, it always feels like 3 is the minimum you need to work with on a lot of maps, and I would say Bind typically being a little bit more even in a split, nothing too crazy. Ooh. As long as West Craven can secure something between here and there, that being the second half, they're going to be in a playing fine position. And now have their second kill working out for them. Relocate, now collecting the rifle that was greatly won off inside Showers. Using it to now clear off another. It's Havelock now at a player disadvantage. They'll send in the Yoru. Just the clone to help things out a little bit in towards sights. This Trash Boat follows up behind it, but there's nothing really there just yet. The Sky Smokes keep the distance where needed. And West Craven really negates all of the negativity that was there early as a third blood favors this West Craven side, who finally look like they're waking up here, Jake. Until Gangi finds a good needed strike to take Listless off the board.
You are going to be stuck in the Showers area, and one player trapping them is going to be Pluto. So now, I mean, with only 15 seconds left to go, it looks like Havelock may be rearing on the side of saving here, but you're going to see them fly out of the Showers control area. They do want to maybe win this round. Can they get that bomb down in time? They do, but the fights are still around. Gangi going to get that bomb down, but a 1v3 scenario, they're going to move in on him quick, and Slimer picks up 2.
Yeah. Great round for West Craven. There's nothing else to say about it. It was just a good position to work from. You knew you had to get that kill, and so much reliance was brought on the fact that you needed it to be a 2v1 wildfire swing through Showers and hope that Havelock only put a single player there. They did. You take advantage. You use it to then further capitulate some kills in your favor. And it just, that was where you would have to really rely on trash boats, Jake, to secure something for Havelock to claw their way back in as a duelist. And they didn't have the safe space to do so, because we finally see West Craven play to the strengths of the rifles they have in hand, sit a lot further back, be ready for a double swing, and have two players at the ready to fire against them when they actually start to move in towards site and initiate and engage. 3 players left standing. That's 3 rifles you can continue to hold on to and save some eco for the next 4-player stack on this A site, though. Is a hefty sacrifice, especially when Trashboat can just stand here for a while and then conceivably even TP out if they set it up for themselves. I think they're going to go ahead and walk their way back instead.
And in theory, I mean, Havelock have the opportunity to get an orb for Trashboat here and utilize that Yoru ultimate. But I'm not sure that's exactly what they're going for right now. They're going for a slow B approach. And if you are, now's the best time to do it because Cypher is all alone here for the side of West Craven. You do have that cam, so if there's any sort of information toward Garden, you see it right there. The rotations are going to start to come in. You see a lot of those arrows move for the side of West Craven, but Havelock might move too fast. They might get this the site control that they want and need.
Slimer's gonna have to hold on to this elbow. There's some utility that is being triggered as you do see Havelock working their way forward. It was the wingman that initiated to go for the plant. That's cleared by Slimer quite well. So you have a bit of a dangerous spot. One player in a trap wire and another one up close towards elbow. It's West Craven who went out on both fights. Now securing themselves a 2-player, no, just 1-player advantage now. Then a frag going the other way. Gangi has to hold on strong in through Hookah. Secures a good pickup back the other way. But it still is Spike under control for West Craven. Now on site is the neural theft. You'd be concerned about it for Havelock if they chose to use so, but knowing there's only 10 seconds remaining, this isn't the round nor the time to worry about it. Fall back, play for another one, and give West Craven their 4th, because you've got to get your 6th, and you've got to set up the saving graces to do so.
And West Craven doing a great job of finding the momentum that they needed in these rounds. If they lose either one of those, their economy is looking absolutely rough here. But instead, they find a couple of those rounds to their name. They rattle off 2 straight. They're almost bringing it back to 5-5 right now. We're seeing a little bit of the West Craven we are used to here in Bind, but still have Gil on kind of a half-buy from the side of West Craven. I mean, you want to keep the economy good. You have the opportunity to maybe buy for Gil, which they will opt to do, I'm pretty sure. It's rifles on rifles here. Neither team's economy is absolutely perfect here, so a win would mean a lot here, and this fight towards Shower is going to go the way of Pluto, so big first blood for the side of West Craven.
Pluto will fall back, rightfully so. One success story doesn't always mean a second, but it's enough to set up the second, and that's where things matter the most. 4chan forced to take a step back. Pluto didn't even need to swing as far as they did, and 4chan's completely caught off with no ability to fire back. It is a trickle of frags in favor of this defensive West Craven, who looked lost for wins early on. 4 in a row, then 5 in a row for Havelock. Where did West Craven go that we knew from the game prior? Well, it looks like they're back and under control, as a 5 versus 2 is in full effect, and Havelock will need to find the right way forward. And this is just another point where Hookah seems to be their only option, their best option. And I've seen probably the best success out of West Craven come when denying this Hookah exit with the trap wire, with the utility from your Cypher in the first place, everything boiling up on that util with an initiator waiting. Maybe not so much your duelist waiting as Pluto takes one single peek here, Jake, out of elbow, out of hall, and loses their life instantly in the process.
Big kill out of Gangi right there to kind of even the odds, but it's still a tall task here in a 2v4 situation. You do have that Brimstone ultimate, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to play for a situation like that. You do fight for that CT control. Oh my gosh. One left 1v1 for Gangi.
Gangi's just made this a near impossible scenario to a very possible one. A Slimer has a bunch of weight on their shoulders. Gangi, though, with 0 utility. It's a gun-up-only fight, and they secure the ace. All 5 handed over to a single initiator on the Havelock side. And Gangi goes from an 11-4 stat line, riddled up to 16 kills. Because West Craven don't know how to stand not in a line on a swing in through sights. What an engagement for Havelock, and what a great round win. Now West Craven have to deal with it. Lie in the bed they made, because they unfortunately just had it thrown out the window.
And that's just one of those situations that's impossible to prepare for. Gangi puts themselves in the best possible situation and finds the perfect lineup from the side of West Craven to make that a 1v1. It seemed like such an almost unwinnable situation, but the perfect storm of moments occur. And now Gangi has to have all the confidence in the world, and West Craven's got to be just looking absolutely, just defeated right now. But the first blood goes their way. This half is not over yet, and you have to stop the bleeding here.
There's even a neural theft that's used here from West Craven. Get a bit of extra information on top as Listless knows they're at a disadvantage gun-wise. Has to go in with a classic and a free gun, by the way, with a single right click to kill. It's Havelock now down 2 in the process, and their utility for information is quickly being rinsed. They're running out of it, but the wingman successful, and that's what matters most. That spike under control without having to give up your post-plant positioning whatsoever. To make matters worse, the Thrash even goes forward. That's Listless detained. That's even your Cypher on site detained. Do they know this? They should. It's Gangi has to moving forward, but fails to do so. Listless to make it a third. Just face smoocher remaining. Stuck inside elbow, but an orbital strike at the ready, and it's sent down, and everyone else is sent down too. Havelock secure now 2 aces in a row to get their 6th and 7th round wins.
Some absolutely insane individual plays from Havelock in these last 2 rounds. I mean, I know the comms have to be fantastic. Face Smoocher finds 3 jumping out of the hookah side area and then uses their utility to find those last 2. The perfectly placed orbital strike after that molly pop, and they find the last with the gun. So an amazing showing from the side of Havelock. Some of these rounds are just absolutely unbelievable here, Scott, but I mean, Havelock, they're playing them perfectly.
Perfection has to be asked for from West Craven, because when Havelock are given an inch, they take a literal mile. Not proverbial in any sense. When they're given something, they take it wholeheartedly. So you're now heading into this round, hoping for your 8th to make the snap line double going into the second half. And you look at Trashboat, who was so amazing for Havelock early, setting up for something big in this round and failing to do so despite the VTOL being up on the books. It won't matter. That's why Wingman is here. That's why you still have 5 people to work with. And once Wingman's job is done, you're back down to 4, and you'll make that 3, if not 2, very quickly. Face Moocher finding a big frag, but Listless returns fire. Just Enigmatic remaining. Lines up 2! And Havelock may just be given another opportunity to secure a round stolen from West Craven. As Enigmatic with the boomstick in hand waits within showers and just needs to play for time. Relocate, sticks this to half. May just stick it entirely and has to, but Enigmatic secures the 3rd and secures this half 8-4 squarely for the Havelock side. The last 3 requiring near miracles, Jake, to get there.
And this is just unbelievable, Scott. I cannot believe my eyes here in this Valorant match. I mean, these are 3 back-to-back-to-back. Just insane moments. The 1v3 from KJ, the collateral with the operator after the back-to-back aces, the 1v4 from Gangi. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's just the best possible opportunity you could have to end the half 8-4. I mean, if those rounds go the opposite direction, what is it? It's 7-5 right now, but instead it's 8-4 in the side of Havelock. So, I mean, they are well oiled to make something happen here on the offensive end. They just need to execute here, and they're going toward the B side off the break, but West Craven, they have both of Havelock, they have both of their sentinels here on the B side. It's going to be very hard to fight through this.
The difficulty's already impossible, it feels like, but to make matters worse, when they've got 2 sentinels, like you mentioned, it's going to be even harder in the later stages. Especially when you consider the fact that they're now a player down, though. 1 sentinel removed out of the 2 they have, and a backup is still available. Space Moocher extends, taken down by Gil. Let's get a second frag on top of it, but Trashboat with a wonderful flank through Hookah now has the remaining players on site trapped and squared away, with Enigmatic somehow squirreling away yet another frag in their favor from outside an elbow. 40 seconds remaining, Jake. And you've got to extend if you're West Craven. And they'll take down the one-winged approach of Enigmatic, and they still have to get through to Spike. And they do so quite well to get the pistol.
And Trashbow plays that well. I mean, you get that spike down, you have to play a situation kind of like that. And that's the one way they have to close out that round. Now, West Craven, they get some momentum under their feet one last time. Let's see if they can utilize it to their favor and get some more rounds on the board, because while all those crazy rounds go down at the end of that half, it's still only a 5-8 game now after you close out that first offensive push. So make sure you can line up the second round perfectly and maybe rattle off some more off the back of that. But West Craven on the offensive side, they do have an offensive sided team, given they have that Gecko, that Sky, and of course the Rays in the back pocket. Definitely more of a regular lineup we have for the side of West Craven. Let's just see if they can utilize it to their advantage here on the attack side.
Yeah, let's see if that regularity will benefit them in the second half. And I think that could be the case. I mean, we didn't see that regularity benefit in game 1 of the day, but we also didn't see that regularity. We saw that regularity benefit on game 2. So it's going to be this kind of interesting dichotomy we have here as the Roomba from Pluto even finds a kill off towards Gengi. Face Moocher within the Sky Smoke, able to eventually secure Listless. As West Craven on the attack, yes, they get spiked down, but they're kind of at a loss for how to find success past this point, as it's just now Slimer remaining. And a 1v4, though dire it may be, it won't last for too much longer, Slimer. Don't you worry. But it is Havelock to come away with the win and kind of break the mold of Valorant and strip this away from a 2-0 start to a half as expected, and to turn fire back to a 1-1 split.
Yeah, and me personally, I think West Craven kind of put themselves in an awkward situation there. They plant that spike triple, and they kind of play for that showers area, which you're kind of playing into Havelock's hands in that situation. You see Sky try to push through that smoke, maybe find one, but instead they get punished so quickly. And then those short-range classics and ghosts kind of come back to bite them as Havelock find the kills, because those close-range fights, once you have those pistols, I mean, you want to play for those long-range fights with the rifles, but instead now you're kind of in an awkward spot. You still have, you know, Vandals and a Spectre and a Ghost for the side of West Craven, so this round is not secure just yet, most certainly for the side of Havelock, but that round 2 goes exactly how you wanted it after losing pistol.
Pluto has control to work with, and honestly, if you're West Craven at this point, you've got to realize there is a Cypher hiding inside this Cypher cage. There's no other way to describe it. Boost Pack comes forward, 4chan to the short. He can't get much going for him as West Craven dismantle the Havelock defense flawlessly, though, at that even. In Havelock, there's just no fight there. There's nothing they could do. They didn't buy up any weapons. They didn't supplement the weapons they lost in round 2 of the second half. They didn't worry about it. And the result is indicative of that. It's not the biggest concern for them. They were playing for this next round and maintaining that lead, because double digits is what's the most important thing on Havelock's mind right now. And double digits tends to be that checkpoint or chokehold for so many teams. It either ends as fast as it starts and you soar through the 11th, 12th, and 13th round, or you get stuck there forever. And West Craven's return is more so prophesized, it feels like, to get them that win in concession. But Havelock have to do everything they can first to deny that, and the VESL is what they're going to use in this round to assist with it.
And I like the Yoru usage right here. Let's see how Trashbow wants to get out of it. Pops that clone, and it works perfectly into their hands. That Brimstone's going to teleport as well and pick up 2 off the back of it. An absolutely fantastic approach to the Yoru ultimate, and it plays right into Havelock's hands. A great teamwork approach. And now you put West Craven in the 2v5 situation. They got to pick up that bomb, and Brimstone is still around.
Face Moocher's just not giving up any control of space. How is he giving a 4th on top of it? West Craven do a flawless round heading into round 15, and then immediately get flawless right back in return. Havelock at the hands of Face Moocher. And then obviously Trashbow, but it's just the one for that created the space to get Face Moocher the play in. I'm now guaranteed their double digits, and now need to realize if they can soar through it or be stuck here for the remainder of this game. I don't know. West Craven Why are you trapped in hookah for so darn long? I'm not too sure. So much of their strategy needs to be less reliant on that hookah play, because nearly every attacking round we've seen from West Craven that's even looked at the B site here so far has been a 4-stack in that direction. They just refuse to test Octagon whatsoever here, Jake, and they're going to have to separate sightlines and create tertiary angles. They just demolished a team the game prior who had the same problem, and now they're falling into the same graces.
See, they have the showers control and the short control that they want. Let's see if it pays off this time around. They're going to get some solid side control, but that Brimstone ultimate is going to be perfect. Face Smoocher finds one with it, and now you're going to have to take the U-Haul control if you are West Craven. In the 3v5 scenario, Havelock so prepared for the retake. You're going to have to win a couple of these fights, but KJ's still here, and the TP, as you said, would have been optimal in that situation, but they don't opt to do that, and now they get lined up.
West Craven need to realize that it's been lost when 2 frags go that way, and you've lost the secondary crab pincer. Crabs have spent years, you know, becoming the most optimal form they can, and what they've done is had 2 sides to create a pincer. Where's your pincer, West Craven? It's gone. You need to create one elsewhere. You need to move elsewhere to hold off and get to site more effectively. Too flat, too one-dimensional, and the cost is a round lost when Havelock are already up by 4, now made 5. And the point can only get worse from here, since West Craven don't have much to work with. We'll need to see some of that Havelock miracle to try to see West Craven find a thrifty round win here, as there is one player up in heaven. It's Trash Boat defensively for Havelock, hunting for the intel. Pluto does escape past the initial line of sight for it. And this is where you're going to see Havelock dump that util right back in return, as 4 out of the 5 defensive players for Havelock are here to meet the 4 out of the 5 attacking players for West Craven, who are forced to TP out.
But Brimstone seem to be ready for it. They have the Cypher utility as well, as West Craven jump out. Face Smoocher is able to pick up 1, so that's kind of the best case scenario for West Craven. They're going to be able to get this bomb down, but the retake is going to be fast.
Be very careful. Shield's going to have to move into some very dangerous territory. The orbital strike to try to clear out a little bit of free area. But now Gil will have to fall back in towards Octagon and hope for a post plant. 1 player on the flank up for Havelock is going to be Gingy working in through hookah. If you give a lot of sight here, they'll take it, and there it is. Gengi takes down Relocate. Trash Boat securing space just the same, and it's only Gil remaining with just a Spectre at this range. The success is knotless. And it's Havelock now at match in series point, 12 rounds to their name, and West Craven just half the line against them.
Match point.
All the momentum in the world have been taken out from under you after that last map that we witnessed from the side of West Craven. West Craven, they play perfectly in the first match of the day, and then here, it's just things are just not going their way. You look at the way these rounds have panned out, and you would assume that maybe this game would be a little bit closer after all of the insane close rounds that we've had here in this bind. But after all, it's 12-6 in the favor of Havelock and West Craven. Such a tall task on this offensive side. You're going to have to make miracles happen like Havelock were able to do in this first half of the game, but it just doesn't seem like that's what's going to occur here. You are going to take that showers control area. You find the first blood, but you're going to have to execute off the back of it. And you got 3 Havelock players at B. Now's the time to strike if you're West Craven.
TP will be made. The whole team now over off on the A side. HL will be sent, and the Seekers on top. It's West Craven praying that this sort of transition will work in favor for them. Face Smoocher now on the cutoff. Is that Herd for the side of West Craven? It's not, and they lock him down again. The exit out from showers, fruitless for West Craven. Just enough of a time to buy, as Listless has to do their own little bit of Havelock miracle working to find a kill, if not 3, as so, to get into the fight. A spike will be recollected, and Slimer will begin to put this down. It's 4chan having to hold the cutoff. The information is found, and 4chan now has to squirrel their way forward silently. And a neural theft will make that impossible. Their position known. It's every piece of intel that West Craven could have possibly used to catch 4chan off guard has now been used here, as the sonar bolt that comes from the camera will eventually be removed and then re-put. 4chan, this wasn't the best way to get the 13th, but it's still not entirely impossible. As you wait for the swing in, will they line them both up? They don't. West Craven hold on to get their 7th.
I mean, I had a feeling that West Craven were going to close out that round after 4chan gets put in that 1v2 opportunity, but you just never know at this point now, do you? I mean, we see a 3 lineup twice in that round, as you see. Face Smoocher finds 3, and then Listless comes off the back of it and finds 3 of their own. So truly anything can happen here. From the side of West Craven, you have a couple ultimates for your name, but on the other side, Havelock have some very powerful ones as well. You can see how powerful that Orbital Strike has been. With the KJ ultimate as well and the Gecko Thrash, I mean, anything is possible here. But on the side of West Craven, I feel like you got to get an opening blood and then strike off the back of that. That's kind of what you do last round. It pays off. Let's see if you can replicate that with maybe that Raze showstopper. But it looks like we're going to be working up short for the side of West Craven. On the other side, that KJ ultimate is going to be popped early on.
Gil's going to wait to send some utility to help send and help out the team. You're warding them off away from that A site. They'll need to be a whole lot smarter. Showstopper popped up for West Craven. They'll send out some util from your Gecko to initiate in forward. Elbow sent forward as well. Too slow on this one, but Havelock say we've got guns, baby, and that's what we're using him for. Just Listless remaining. Isolates too quickly, but a Thrash could be their undoing, and it will be. Failure to clear, and the knife comes out. Face Smoocher, you totally stole that from Gengi there, but a round and a half win from Havelock. Off the back of the miracles at the end of the first half here, Jake. It's a Havelock win and a West Craven loss that was honestly the biggest shock of the day, considering the success they had in Game 2 today.
Yeah, I mean, some fantastic showings out of both of those teams. I mean, we saw a lot of miracles, as you pointed out. One thing you can say about that match right there on Bind is it was most certainly entertaining. From what I can say off the back of that, West Craven, they definitely have what it takes to take down some of those better teams. But Havelock just... the game wanted them to win this time around. The stars aligned for them to take home a couple of those rounds that could have gone the opposite direction, and they capitalized off of them perfectly. So hopefully in the next game for West Craven, things go maybe a little bit more their way. But for Havelock, you look like a very solid roster, and you're going to want to have to do more of that in the future, because it looks like you got a solid team, but some of those rounds you're not going to get in the future.
And it's crazy to have to say that to a winning team at the end of the day, right? Like, having to tell the winning team there's a lot to work on and to not be so reliant on some of those. It's a crazy statistic, but that's what it's going to be. 3 rounds to close out the half made 4. That's not going to happen every time, especially with how good West Craven were looking. You went off of almost mental, it feels like. They were demoralized after the 4-round miracles, right? It's just kind of this... what is going on Bind? What sort of magic has been working their way up? And what hieroglyphics are we looking at here? Because this is entirely foreign to us. We don't know what to do, and we don't know how to really dissolve this and digest this information. West Craven, lots of odd review, a lot like Washington had against them on Game 2. But both sides here can take a look at this and learn and evolve to shape the rest of their game throughout this. And I think it's going to be a really good set of teams to continue to watch going forward. But that is it for us today here, Jake. That's it for you and I. Any closing statements?
Well, shout out to all the teams that played today. They were absolutely fantastic. We saw some very interesting matches from start to finish. A lot of very solid players, a lot of very solid rosters. And of course, like you said, some things to work on for some of these teams, but it's going to be interesting to see how they progress here for the rest of the season. And obviously, shout out to all the teams, all the viewers, everybody in chat. Shout out to producers, and shout out to you as well, Scott, for being here with me today.
And shout out to you as well, Jake. Congratulations for it. It was a pleasure being here. It was a pleasure watching these teams, and hopefully they'll have just as good of matches going into next week as well. Stay tuned for more from us. We'll be back next week, and we'll be back throughout the remainder of this week with more esports action. Don't go anywhere.